work ethic comes from the home. Our parents are immigrants, came here. My dad's first generation, my mom's second generation. They always worked hard. My dad owned his own business. I didn't see my dad for hours on end growing up. They say work-life balance, it doesn't exist.
Welcome to Surviving the Side Hustle podcast, the place where expert-based business owners learn how to build momentum, avoid burnout, and create sustainable success on their own terms. I'm your host, Rob Tracy, strength and conditioning specialist turned founder and CEO of Prime Performance Coaching, the personal performance strategy firm for high-achieving business owners and operators. I partner with driven entrepreneurs to implement the Prime Performance process, an awareness-based operating system that's helped me and countless solopreneurs and small business owners evolve from just being high performers on the edge of burnout to prime performers building sustainable success. The impact of Prime Performance process has led me here, where I'll show you how to get unstuck and design your own prime performance life without sacrificing your health, relationships, or sanity. So whether you're hustling after hours or scaling your passion project, today and here, you're going to get real stories, science-backed strategies, and practical frameworks to help you excel every step of your journey. It's time. Let's get intentional, build momentum, and become prime performers together. We'll get started just after this message. If you're an ambitious business owner or side hustler who's ready for a breakthrough, tired of spinning your wheels, looking to slide past burnout and build real momentum, I'd love to invite you to book a free Prime Performance Strategy session with me or one of our strategists. This is your chance to get personalized insight on what's been holding you back and get a clear path to move forward. No fluff, just actionable strategy. So if you're interested, visit survivingthesidehustle.com/free call to request your spot now. Again, that's survivingthesidehustle.com/free call. Looking forward to helping you become a prime performer. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. I'm super excited because today's guest helps entrepreneurs solve one of the biggest bottlenecks in business, which is access to capital. He's the founder of The Score Machine, which is a credit and funding platform built to give everyday entrepreneurs real tools to improve credit, unlock working capital, and move their businesses forward without actually getting taken advantage of. So in today's conversation, we're looking to talk about hard work, mindset, financial leverage, and why credit isn't just a personal finance issue. It's a growth strategy for side hustlers and small business owners. So, Badi, how's it going, man? Welcome to the show.
What's going on, Rob? How's everything, man? Thank you for having us.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited to kind of dive in. We were connected through a mutual friend. So loved your story, love what you're working on and so much about it. And I'd love to kind of dive in if it's cool with you. You had mentioned on a previous call when we were first connecting that a lot of what you're doing here started by hand. Can you take us back and explain, so how did this whole thing start to begin and what did that look like for you?
So when I got out of college, I was trying to become a lawyer and I didn't get into the ability, couldn't pass my LSATs. So what had happened was I had to pivot. So, as entrepreneur, you have to pivot in any which way. You got to learn when to pivot quickly. So I pivoted into the credit industry. But as I pivoted into the credit industry, I started to learn there's different things inside the credit industry. You have credit restoration, you have funding, you have all these different credit based products that you can work with inside of the credit industry. And I started in credit repair and credit restoration, and then I moved into funding. And what I was doing everything by hand is I was actually looking at the profile by hand, underwriting the profile by hand, seeing what the banks were looking for, seeing what everybody's looking for, and then start to actually build out a profile for the client to say, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, this is what we're going to do along period of time that you're with us, and then charge them. Now, with what we have built, I do that in about 8 seconds. That used to take me, on average, a full 2 or 3 days, because reading the profile, going through the system, double checking, make sure logins are correct, this, that, and the other. When you pull the profile in, then going back and forth between Excel and the profile. And this is before I knew anything about dual monitors or any of that stuff. Like, I was going like, close this window, go to the other window, copy, paste, copy. It just started moving to that place. And I said there had to be an easier way. But back then I didn't know. As I got older, I'm like, definitely an easier way to do this. So the starting process of doing everything by hand, it actually taught me how to get to where we are now, and then the development of the score machine.
Yeah, see, that's it's cool. And one of the first things you said there kind of stuck out to me when you first started talking about like pivoting from one thing into another thing. And someone recently had told me that like the success of an entrepreneur really determines how well and how quickly they can recognize and pivot into something new. And another thing that I think a lot of early stage entrepreneurs and like side hustlers when they're kind of starting out is they fail to see or to build the systems around it. And you were talking how you were doing this and then you decided to kind of create this system to go along with it. And I want to ask you, so like what was that point when you realized like this is taking me way too long. There's got to be an easier way to systematize this. And like what was it like for you or where did it come to in your head too? Because you come from going like originally going to be a lawyer, then you're like, wow, there's this problem here that's taking too long. How do we systematize that?
So when I looked at it, because I was previously working for a company that actually got me involved in all this. I was working actually with one of the biggest credit repair heads in Florida at the time when I was doing this. And I sit there and I'm watching this. I'm like, okay, so there's credit repair softwares out there and restoration softwares out there. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is a major problem. This is a major problem because what you're doing is only solving one issue. And then the one issue is credit. You're not looking at it as a totality of a file. So then I'm sitting there and I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Why hasn't anybody thought about this? And it wasn't that anybody didn't think about it. It's people didn't want to put the brain power behind it because it takes brain power. And it's like, well, the bank changes all the time. Well, not if you do conservative numbers, not if you turn around and utilize things that, I mean, the industry uses a term called Cinderella file, right? Well, the Cinderella file is if you don't want to do nothing. I just want to take the client, go to the institutions, get them what they need, come back, and I'm happy, which means you don't want to put work. Why? Because putting in work costs time, it costs money. But if I put in work, what happens? I get the perfect file. And when I get the perfect file, I get the most leverage from the bank. So what happens is me as a thinker, what I did was I was like, okay, I know the problem. I know what they don't want to do. I was like, okay, so how can I make it happen? And I'm gonna be honest with you, I was beating my head against the wall for 10 years. It took me in total 10 years to get to where I am today, 3 years in development. Because then it started, well, I'm gonna be honest with you, AI has sped everything up. It took me 10 years to get to this point because first off, my brain needed to get into it. I had to start figuring out what the actual bottleneck was. When I figured that out, then we started to develop the program. When AI came in, the AI helped me figure out the bottlenecks, change the bottlenecks, and then start to grow the system. And the way that it helped me grow the system and create the system was very simple things. First off, it just looked at the profile differently than I did. Instead of looking at it as a negative, it pulled out the parameters of what is actually in, like debt to income ratio. So now we start building out all these pieces and like building blocks, you start putting every piece together. But it takes time, it's slow, and it takes effort. And what happens is once the effort is complete, that's when you really start to see the success of the program and how it actually works. I mean, I've showed it to you. You see it like if I show you the first rendition of what it actually looked like to where it is now, you'd be like, holy, I was like, call myself, but it was completely different. It was, and to start and again, Getting started's key. You just got to get started. And I'll tell you how I got started. I went on Fiverr. I looked on Fiverr for people that can build websites and programs and things like that. I had no clue what it is. So then I started how to learn a coding language, but I've not how to actually code, but what the coding languages are, what the best coding languages are. Then I had to go look for somebody that coded in that language. After I found somebody that coded in that language, then explain to them. Then I learned how to develop what's called a wireframe. No clue how I learned. I think I just watched a YouTube video. No clue how one day I just started doing it. Then I would give the wireframe to the developer. The developer would spit me out something with the designer. I'd be like, no, I don't like that. Start tweaking things. And then we got to where we are today. But it starts with the first push, the first thing of getting the ball rolling. And that's the key. It's just getting the ball rolling and getting it to where it needs to be. And then to get that development process started, but you have to start at the beginning. You have to analyze the problem, which I did in that office. I still remember the office where I was sitting. Like I could visually sit and I saw it. I was like, man, imagine if it did this. And then imagine if it did this, became a software.
So I love that. And I think that's important for a lot of people to kind of think about too, because a lot of individuals kind of start side hustles and they start different projects and they just do it because it's something that they either like doing or they're good at doing, which is important, but they fail to like recognize or identify an actual problem. So then they like spent all this time like building and growing, creating and dreaming. And then they go to market and then they realize like, oh, nobody actually needs this problem, this solution to the problem. So I think that's important to kind of point out there. But keeping it in that kind of realm, because a lot of people can benefit from getting more money. So I want to ask you, like, who specifically benefits the best from using the score machine?
So if I say anybody that's an entrepreneur, I'm being too vague. And the reason I'm being too vague is if you open up the door to everybody, actually, you actually have nobody. So let's go down. Let's imagine this right now. Let's talk. I'm talking to the audience right now. I'm talking to you guys right now. You're the person that's sitting down in your office right now, and you're looking. I need capital right now to fund me to next month when I get that big payout. I need a marketing budget. I need an expansion budget. I need $2,000 to buy another truck. I need $20,000 to do this. I need $100,000 to do that. You're the person. You're the person because you're sitting there and you have capital coming through. The person that it doesn't work for, I mean, it works for everybody, but the person that it truly doesn't work for is the person that's not ready to actually make the step. I make enough money. I make enough money, right? Well, I'm not for you. Because if you're already making enough money, you're not gonna open up your mind to what's out there. Versus the person's like, shit, I need $10,000 for a marketing budget right now. How can I do that? What can I do to get there? Because if I know if I invest 10,000 in marketing, I can make 100,000. And I'm just using that as an example, but that's their thing where they're visualizing what can be. So that's the person that we're focused on. That's
Yeah,
the go. I
I
apologize.
was just gonna say, yeah, I love that too because people who are comfortable and they're happy and satisfied with what they're doing, just kind of like trucking along, those aren't the ones who are looking to make bigger moves or bigger changes with what they're doing. They're just essentially just working another job, right? They're just collecting another paycheck. But those who actually kind of get into entrepreneurship or start their business with a bigger vision of creating more impact or creating more whatever it is, change, or even if it is just to make more money, you have to be a little bit more of a visionary to paint the picture, to take the money, to use it to go do something else, right?
Bingo. And that's the key. That's actually what it is actually taking the money that you're making, right? And saying, how do I make this bigger? How do I make this chest bigger? What do I need to do to make this bigger? And sometimes it's not what's in the chest. It's actually building a new chest. It's building a piece inside of the business and say, I don't want to be an employee of my business. I want to be the owner. I want to be the boss. I want to hire people. But that's not everybody. And trust me, I know those people. I know people that are working in their businesses. They're happy where they're at. They're making enough money and they just put a smile on their face every day. And you want to know something? I don't hate you. I don't. I love it because you know what? Not many people can find that peace. I'm gonna tell you something. For me, no, I can't. I can't remain stationary. I can't remain in one piece. I've got to take a risk to a certain point. And I know this with everybody. That's why we started a side hustle, because the JOB, or the just over broke, right, is not doing it for us anymore. We just made enough money to cover this bill, and boom, my car, my truck, my car, my something broke. The water heater in the house broke in the apartment. Rents due. This what happens? What are you supposed to do? Go take some more overtime hours? And then you're already doing 40 hours of overtime a week. What is that going to do for you? Plus your side hustle? Now it's the time to sit down with yourself, look in the mirror, and say, hey, really, what am I trying to do? Am I trying to remain in this position, or am I trying to set myself up to go forward? Am I trying to get to that next level? And what does that next level look like? That next level may be $5,000. Level may be for somebody else $50,000. That next level may be $100,000 for somebody else per month. But you have to visualize your goal and say, how do I get there? Write it down and get there. That's the key.
Yeah, I love that. You gotta be willing to chase after and look for that next stage. You gotta want the options, because that's what you're really doing. Is you're giving people the ability to have more options and make more decisions, growth and security and all that stuff too. Could you just run us through like how your software works?
So very simple. We have three credit companies that we build with. One's called My Free Score Now, the other one's called Identity IQ, and the other one's called My Score IQ. You go to this third party agency. Due to compliance issues, we do not pull your credit report into the system, meaning from the agencies itself, due to compliance. So what we do is you get it from a third party provider. That third party provider then utilize your username and password from them and pull your information into software. Our AIs, machine learning, everything goes and reads that credit report and then starts to dissect that credit report. We call it, it's called an institutional readiness evaluation. Once that happens, we'll look at everything that's there that's holding you back, and spits out what you need to do, whether it's pay downs, paying down your credit cards, paying down your personal loans, paying down things that you have. Okay. Making sure that you have low inquiry usage. Make sure you have the right amount of credit cards on your account. Because what happens is people don't know how to actually build a credit profile. I can have an 800 score. Yeah, that's great. But if you don't have an 800 score with the proper stuff, it doesn't matter what the score is. And that's the key. We want to make sure that every score that we have, everything that we're doing has the right stuff in it. And if it has the right stuff in it, that's when you go to the institution. And that's why we call it an institutional readiness office. The institution being anybody and being able to get funded from those institutions, whether it's hard money, bank money, it's all different types of things that you may look at to be able to get money. Private lenders, etc., hedge funds, all this stuff, because they still put credit to a certain extent.
Cool. So basically, it gives you, shows you what you need to do to be ready if you're not currently ready. And then what, you just take it and you just walk into the bank. You're like, hey, give me my money.
Well, there's two things you could do. One, walk into the bank if you have a banking institution ready to rock and roll. The banking institution is the best because if you built that rapport with the banking institution, it's actually easier to go in and say, hey, look, I got an 800 credit score. I hit all the parameters for your bank. What can you get me? The person sitting at the desk behind the bank sees all these parameters, sees that they're met. They know the underwriter's looking for that. They're going to be like, crap, this is amazing. Let me go there. Versus you don't want to go to the bank. You're like, I'm not for going and talking to people. Go online and just apply online. The software inside of the software itself will apply online directly for you. Hold on. This inside of the software you can apply directly online, but you have to actually physically fill out the applications and do all the stuff. So I had to make sure that they just everything's with compliance in today's day and age. You have to do everything properly. And I staked a lot on compliance. We are 100% compliant software in the sense of we paid all the lawyers to view everything, make sure that we weren't doing any incorrect selling. We didn't have anything that was against the law in any which way, shape, and form. And we really pressed very hard to make sure that according to all thresholds that everything was done.
Yeah, I love that. And when we first talked, you had put a lot of emphasis on not wasting time and doing the job correctly. And I can see that, like, obviously you have to follow compliance. But even like when we were talking before we started recording today, you had already done a bunch of different things that kind of carried through. So I want to kind of bring it back to you personally, ask like, where did this work ethic and standard kind of come from?
Failure. One word, failure. Work ethic comes from the home. Uh, Parents are immigrants, came here. My dad's first generation, my mom's second generation. They always worked hard. My dad owned his own business. Always, I didn't see my dad for hours on end growing up. Like, they say work life balance, it doesn't exist. I'm sorry. I don't agree with everybody who says work life balance exists. I don't. It's very hard as an entrepreneur to actually have work life balance. You're going to choose, and something is going to drop if you choose something else over what you need to do. And some people may not agree with me, and that's okay. But I've tested this myself. I know what happens when I choose to take a day off. That day off sets me back 3, 4 days. And I just know that in a sense. With my dad, I watch my dad work 6 days a week still. I think he still works 6 days a week now to a certain extent. He's like 75 years old, still working 6 days. Still owns his business, does whatever he needs to do. My mom did the same thing. She was working 5 days a week. She trekked in every day, snow, sleet, rain, whatever the case may be. She used to work. And that balance comes from them. That work ethic comes from them. Nobody's gonna save you, was what my mom said. Then meeting my wife, watched my father-in-law as well. My father-in-law was just a monster. And what happens is you start to look at the people who are around you and they set the tone for who you're going to be. So I had the literal rich dad, poor dad growing up, like when I was Kiyosaki. I had it growing up. And my best friend's father was wealthier. My dad was just working, but on the side of, thank God, able to put a roof on it. But I had that two different mindsets. My dad wanted me to go to school and become an attorney, all that stuff, and have a prestigious job and X, Y, and Z. And my best friend's dad was like, get your business, do what you need to do, make money. So these people shaped who I became. And then I grew an attachment to, I hate this word, but I'm going to use it, freedom. I grew an attachment to how money gave me the ability to do what I wanted, not what I had to do. I'll give you a perfect example. My daughter was sick 3 months ago. She's crying, screaming, whatever. I'm working a day job, right? If I'm working a day job, I got to call my boss. I got to leave where I'm at. I got to drive home. I got to get my kid. I got to do this. I got to drive him to the doctor. Then I got to worry about all this stuff. And that didn't happen. I got a home office. I got an office. My wife calls me. She's like, honey, the baby's not well. I said, okay, no problem. At that time, I was working at the home office. I come upstairs. I grab my daughter. I pack her in the car. I drive to the doctor. Doctor says we're going to need nebulizer and all this stuff. It's going to come out to like $500. As entrepreneurs, we don't have typical insurance like everybody else.
No.
So what happens is that's out of pocket. But if I wasn't in the situation that I was in, oh my God, that could have been catastrophic. But I was in the situation that I was in. I was like, okay, it is what it is. Boom, boom, pay it, move on. And that's the mindset that keeps me going. That's my why. My why is my family. But my why is my family. God forbid something happen, I can do what needs to be done. And that's the true key. That's the true motivation. And then hunkering down on everything. You say something to me, again, the conversation that we had previously before the podcast, you had said, maybe you should go set this up. If you're telling me something, somebody of how do I say this, of higher knowledge is telling me something. There's a reason that they're saying it to me. Because it's like a test. Do you follow what people tell you that are trying to help you? Yes or no? No? Well, we're not going to waste our time with you. Yes? Okay, you're somebody that we can actually put time into. That's exactly what's going on with with how I got here. The AI that I have didn't magically appear out of thin air. Yeah, it was my head, but it got tied into being able to listen to people. Somebody came to me and be like, "I know how to develop AI." So I was like, "Really?" Then he explained it to me, and all of a sudden, I started doing research, this, that, and the other thing. Boom, and now I have my own AI. So it's just, big segue into leading it, but just that's what it comes down to. It's just knowing how to spot the opportunity, failing a bunch of times, and then just wanting the pure will to succeed.
I love that. Yeah, having that strong family to kind of fall back on and really just kind of pushing forward and learning from the failures too. I feel like a lot of people they get their 40th no and then they just give up, and instead of like looking at the first 40 ish of the no's or turn downs and saying like, hey, well, why are they saying that, and then learning from that and growing. And maybe that's the answer to the next question I want to ask you, but I'm going to ask you this anyways, is like, because you're working with a lot of other business owners and entrepreneurs. And from what you've seen, what really separates the entrepreneurs who stall out or give up versus those who scale and exceed through?
First 5 years are pinnacle. Your life is over. And I don't want to scare people. I want people to understand this. Your life is over. When you're that entrepreneur in that first 5 years, if you're not putting time, business is dead. You're going to make a couple of bucks. You're going to make a few $1,000s. You're never going to break the pinnacle if you don't push, and you don't push hard every single time. Look, I have days that I don't see my daughter, and she's literally upstairs. She's literally right there. I could be here. I'm here for 12 to 18 hours working. Days I don't see my daughter. At the end of the day, what happens? I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for them. I'm doing this for them. So again, the why is the key. Why do you do it? When you stall out, you forgot what your why is. You know how I stop my stall out? How I stop my burnout? I go to hell upstairs. It's that easy. It's that easy. I just go look at my baby's eye. I'm like, okay, I got you. Reinvigorate. But what happens is people lose the why. When they lose the why, that's when they don't push forward. That's when they stall out. That's when they stop, when the brakes go on, because they don't realize what it needs. If your business makes it past 5 years, you're done. You're going to have clients constantly coming through. But if your business does not get to that point, you will never get there. Sorry, it's the truth. And the God's honest, hard truth of it is people give up before the 5 year mark hits because they hit the valve. Shit, I'm doing really good. I'm doing really good. I'm doing really good. I'm doing really good. I'm doing. What happened? That hard period. This is where mental toughness comes into play too. Am I made for this? Am I made to do this? I was listening to Pat Bet David 2 days ago. Pat Bet David did small little piece. It's like 2 minute reel or whatever it is. He said, just imagine yourself, you're sitting in your car, you drove to a client's house, it's 2 hours away, you go knock on the door, you can see the client's there, they don't pick up the phone, this, that, and the other thing. You need the client because you need to pay your car bill, you need to pay your rent, you need to pay all this stuff. And the client doesn't answer the door. You pick up the phone, you call them, you're knocking on the door, you see the curtain move, you know they're home, but they don't answer. You can't force your way into the house. So get back in the car, and then you look at yourself in the mirror, and then logic kicks in. Maybe I should just go get that job. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe, and that's the thing. That's where mental toughness kicks in. And I can give you the best story about that. It was my wife's birthday 5 years ago. I was working at JOB, just over broke. And I took her out to dinner with her family. Her mom and her have the same birthday. And we went to dinner. And the dinner cost me like, I want to say 400. At the time, my checks were $800. The dinner cost me half of what I made it. And I was just constantly failing, constantly doing. And on the highway driving home, I said, God, please do me a favor. Give me a sign. Why the hell am I keep beating my head against the wall? Why don't I just go work in a bank again or do whatever the hell? Like just something. Give me a sign to say, why the hell am I doing this to myself? Why am I beating myself down? I'm a car guy. Look, driving home on this highway, you would never see any of these nice fancy cars or anything driving. At that moment, I want to tell you, was not 20 seconds later. I'm in the middle lane, car pulls up, this beautiful McLaren in bright orange, 675 LT. I'll never forget it. And it just stood there and it stopped. It was nose and nose with me. I didn't speed up the car. I was in cruise control, nothing. And it just stopped. And it just proceeded to go there with 30 seconds with me. And in my mind, I said to myself, I'm destined for greatness. That's why I don't stop. That's why I keep pushing forward. That's why I got to do what I got to do because I want the nice things. Want, keyword. I want the nice things. And I want to provide the best for my family. And that's the truth. That's how the entrepreneur doesn't know when they don't know their why and they hit that realization that that the logic hits, they don't know how to get through it. And the key is to literally like the Hulk smash, like literally just get through the wall. You have to figure it out day by day. Best line I ever heard is run to do every day. That's the truth. And if you can understand that statement, you understand how that statement works. Trust me, you'll be perfect.
Hey, sorry for the interruption. It's me, Rob, and I hope you're enjoying today's conversation. But I wanted to remind you, if you're a driven entrepreneur or an expert-based business owner who wants to get unstuck, create sustainable momentum, and really start moving forward, I've got a free resource just for you. You can download my 5 keys to clarity and momentum. It's a PDF guide. It's a quick read, and it'll help you cut through the noise, clarify your next steps, and start building the systems that you need for sustainable success. So if you're new here, or if you haven't grabbed it yet, this is the first step to applying these principles in your own journey. So head over to survivingthesidehustle.com/5 keys and download your free copy today. Again, that's survivingthesidehustle.com/5 keys. Yeah, that is a powerful quote about rent being due every single day. Success isn't owned. And that's like a powerful like motivator for a lot of people. Like for side hustlers and these entrepreneurs or these really like these skill built business owners, they're out here grinding, they're pushing, and more times than not, they have that drive in them to continue doing it because they're doing a thing that they do love. And then they kind of continue going through because they have a little bit of family, but they're kind of struggling, right? They're not getting to that next stage. And they're like, okay, as soon as I get a little bit more, as soon as I do a little bit more here, then they can kind of open up and do or grow to the next level. So for really, it's that that grind is almost second nature. The motivation's kind of there. What I'm hearing though is a lot of people limit themselves because cash flow is kind of slow. And where do you see this or like how like so I'm going to bring it back to what you've got here with the score machine and how that helps with entrepreneurs with cash flow types of issues and kind of like awareness there. Can you talk a little bit around that?
Okay. Cool. Each business needs a certain type of cash flow. And how that cash flow comes in is from clientele. So what are you doing to get the clientele through the door? First and foremost, podcasts. Podcasts cost money, right? When you get into a podcast to sit down and have a podcast with money, what happens is that you need that cash flow to get that thing to start getting clientele in because what do we do? We're leveraging audience. Okay. Leveraging your audience, you're leveraging my audience to grow our situation together. And that's the key. So what happens is you have to take whatever money that you have. If you don't have money, you have to figure out how to get it to be able to go and get to the audience that you need. So what do? We look at a marketing budget of what you want to do and then apply for the institutions based upon marketing budget. So for example, I need $10,000, right? Well, you need $10,000 to go pay for a podcast. Well, let me get a credit card that I can get $10,000 off of that has 0% interest for the next 16 months, 0% interest for the next 12 months. Well, what do I do with that? Well, if I don't pay any interest on it, somebody just loaned me the $10,000 for a podcast. Well, what just happened? I just bought cash flow. That's marketing. So what happens next? I pay that marketing off. Next piece is I can build a bigger marketing budget by getting few of those cards together. Now I have $50,000. I have ads going. I have an infrastructure built. I have this, and built where the system score machine got me the money with those cards to be able to build this infrastructure now so that now I can run Facebook, Meta, Google ads, all these things. And now that infrastructure funnels more business into me. Now your cash flow problems start to slow down. And now you have an abundance problem. You know, Rob, we always love an abundance problem. So score machine utilizes your institution to say, look, I am not institutionally ready, fix it, or I am institutionally ready, let's go get money. Because the money that we utilize, because we leverage debt for assets. So I can leverage the credit card to get me assets in my business. What are the assets? The infrastructure to build to bring it through the door, the podcast, the commercials, the influencers, whatever that you need to get there, that's the key. And for the skill-based guys, Rob, I saw that you got a supplement line, right? Your supplement line, putting it in front of an influencer, utilizing the credit card to then blow up your supplement line. The skilled guy, what's the skill that they do? I'm a carpenter. Well, I'm just using the funniest comedian talking about your things. That's an influencer. Now that's blowing up your business. Now you don't have cash flow. Cash flow is equal to not enough clients. These people that are waiting to pay you is the death of your cash flow issue. If they're not waiting to pay you, then you have a cash flow issue. So we have to figure out how to generate clients to then build cash flow.
Yeah, I love that. And so you're basically leveraging the credit there to fund growth and explode up the business and keep it going. In your opinion, like what's the problem for entrepreneurs who try to fund the growth on their own?
So it's not about funding the growth on their own because realistically, you are funding the growth on your own. You have to pay the leverage back. But
Mhm.
here's the thing, you don't earn anything from funding on your own. I make 5% cash back on everything that I spend on one of my credit cards up until $5,000. For marketing budget, I make 4% cash back on my Amex Gold card. Chase has a business Inc. Premier, and I just gave 3 gems right there, right? 3 gems. Chase has an Inc. Premier card, right? That gives you 3 times back on Meta, Google, and Bing ads. So understanding your thing, now you're getting leverage back. So if I'm getting cash back, money that I'm spending to go in my cash flow, tell me how that's not a win situation.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like a cheat or a cheat code.
It is. And that's the key. But you have to understand the cheat code to utilize the cheat code. And that's when I sit down over here and I go through all this stuff, like zero APR financing, zero APR credit cards. It's literally zero APR financing. They're giving you 0% for 12 months. Well, if I utilize 0% for 12 months and I'm able to utilize that credit card and say I get $70,000, right? You got the perfect Cinderella file, you get a $70,000. Take $70,000 out with no APR after, right? For 12 months, be able to utilize that and hopefully in 6 months be able to pay it back. I just doubled. Now I have 70,000 that I just paid, which means I made 70 grand, 70 grand profit, right? Which means I'm making more, which means I'm growing. And that's the key is that the cheat code is I walk around with a $500,000 in credit in my, it's not your money. You are 100% right. Because I don't use my own money. I use OPM, other people's money. I leverage the bank. I use the bank to grow my business. Because when I grow my business, right, I pay it back with the profits. That's what Robert Kiyosaki teaches people. I'm in debt $1 billion. But I take my assets, I use the assets from the business, I don't pay taxes. It's a game, man. You just gotta learn how to play it.
Yeah, and it's good to know all the rules to a certain degree, so then you can win and play the game better. I want to ask you though, so Because there's a lot of tools out there that kind of help with credit repair and awareness and stuff like that. So how is the score machine different from most of the stuff that's kind of like out there?
So there's only one real tool that's out there that I don't want to say comes close, but is more mainstream. Credit repair, there's a ton of tools, but we're not credit repair. We're institutional readiness. There's only thing that comes hairline close is going to be Credit Karma. And here's why we blow Credit Karma out of the water. First off, Credit Karma uses a Vantage score. For what people don't understand is a Vantage score is built by the credit bureaus. It's not an actual score built by the institutions. The institutions use Fair Isaac, which is FICO. So first off, now you're already putting yourself back because you don't have a FICO score. You don't have a score that's utilized by the institutions. Credit Karma only gives you two bureaus. Our FICO score gives you all three. Okay, so when you pay for that FICO score, you're going to get all three, not two bureaus. Three, Credit Karma will give you banks that you're approved for that they don't have your credit score on. How's that possible? So with us, because we have all three, we're actually institution matching you properly. Okay. And four, you pay for it. It's not free. Because it's not free, bet your behind we're going to do a better job in research to make sure that you are getting the right thing. We don't get paid when you run an application. So I'm going to make sure that you're ready for that application to go out and at least apply for it. But now, compliance standpoint, Rob, I always got to put this in. The institution still control the ability to deny it. Then what could cause a denial? You could have a file with them, be blacklisted or something like that. We're not going to know. But if we do put that on there, you have to know, hey, well, look, I got my credit repaired 5 years ago, screwed up an account with Chase, and we're telling you to go apply with Chase, right? Just using the Sussex example. And you do that and you get denied. If you knew you screwed up an account with Chase and we're telling you to go to Chase, you don't go to Chase. You have to have some level of common sense to put like, look, I messed up an account. Maybe I'm not going to apply there. Maybe I'll apply somebody else. We have 2,209 banks inside of the software and over 6,000 products. Trust me, you'll be able to find another bank.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So talk to me about like the typical outcome that people get. Is it like you just come in, you sign up, you either fix the problem or you just like get into the funding? What is it like? What does the time frame kind of look like, and what does it look like using the machine?
So the funny part was I had somebody put a post up that reshare a post from like when I started the score machine almost a year ago. And score machine told me, went down all the lines, said every client was institutional, whether he wanted an American Express card. I went and applied for American Express. He got $20,000 from American Express. He got $10,000 from American Express. And I think the one that we put on was the $10,000 card that he got from American Express. It wasn't even an entrepreneur. It's just somebody that wanted to have an American Express card. If they would have applied for it and they didn't know where they were at, they would have gotten denied. And the key is the score machine is going to go over there. It's going to tell you, okay, I'm going to break it down against this criteria. Do you have the proper credit score? Yes. And it's like literally driving a car. Red means stop. Green means go. Green means go. Yellow means proceed with caution. So do you have a 700 credit score? If it shows up red, stop. You need to fix your credit score. Do you have under 30% utilization? Yes. Okay, move on. Why? Again, banking parameters. You can go always less, but what the minimum that they're looking for is what we want to give you to a little bit of conservative. Do you have comparable credit? Do I have at least 5 credit cards? Yes, good. Move on. No, well, that's where we're gonna have to add some trade. Okay, which means going around in your community. Hey, look, I need an authorized user. Can somebody put me on a credit card that they have that at least has a $5,000? Yeah, boom, they put you on an authorized user. I sell my credit cards all the time. Hey, you needed it. I get the credit card in the mail. These are all people's credit cards. They're all people's credit cards that I just sell. I sell them, put them in my desk. You got a year, and then I sell another round of them a year from now. Why? Because I'm selling age. I'm selling that piece for them. They come in, they utilize that, they grow their credit, they grow their age, they grow what they need. Then the next piece. Do you have good payment history? Do you have collections? Do you have charge-offs? Do you have late payments? Do you have bankruptcies? Do you have inquiries? Inquiries is a big thing. People don't know what an inquiry is. Every time you go to the bank and they ask you to run your credit, that's called an inquiry. You're requesting debt. So every time you're requesting debt, they're dinging your file for it. And every time that they ding your file, what happens? What happens? It lowers your credit score. But it also tells the institution, you're looking for money. So why are you looking for money so much? You're a problem. We don't want to lend you money. Your risk is too high.
Hmm.
The more you look for it, the more your assessment goes high, the less they want to give you. That's the key. So knowing all these risks, knowing all these little parameters and factors get you the most. What does the perfect file look like? Perfect file looks like in a score machine, everything in green. And you go to your institutions and you rock out. And we have people coming in, everything in green, going in and getting funded 100, 200, $300,000 that they're getting to be able to utilize in their business, to be able to utilize to press forward in their business, to build themselves up and grow.
Man, I love that. And that just creating such a ripple effect for people too, because like you get the green lights and you're ready to roll, you get the funding, now you're doing more stuff with your business, you're creating more jobs for other people, you're stimulating the community. It's just like giving back on different levels, and it's powerful because it all starts with using the score machine. And Ali, I know we're getting close here on time, and I like really appreciate you kind of coming on and sharing and talking about one, your story, your own experiences, and then also talking to us about the score machine. And I know you've got a little bit of a gift for everybody here listening, but before we kind of dive into some of that, I wanted to ask you, is there anything that we didn't cover that you think that the audience needs to know about the score machine?
Institutional readiness is key. So understanding that you need to be institutional ready is the key. And if you as a whole are wondering why to utilize the score machine, is because you're that person that is imagining yourself in a different situation. You are that person that is imagining yourself to the growth and the possibility that you have never thought before. So utilizing the score machine gets you there. That's what we didn't cover. We didn't cover the ability of how somebody's going to get to the end goal. And just utilizing it and understanding is the way to get to the goal.
Boom. There you go, guys. So I know you hooked us up, everybody who's listening, with a pretty sweet opportunity. And I think we got the link is going to be survivingthesidehustle.com/score machine. Can you share a little bit about what the deal is?
So our package for institutional readiness, the way that we give it to everybody is this is not an individual package. You're using one of the most powerful AIs in the system, backed by Amazon and all this stuff. And what happened is our cost per the server costs almost 1470. That's 1,407. But Rob and I hit it off pretty well. And I know this community is all entrepreneurs, and everybody's, I'm not going to sit down and buy that. I'm going to hook you guys up today. I'm going to give it to you on 97. I'm going to take care of everybody, and we're going to lock that in for life. So if you're listening to this podcast 10 years down the line, whatever, as long as I'm still kicking and the score machine's still kicking at that point and I still own it, like, let's be real, you're getting that price. Rob's always going to have that price. Rob's always going to be able to utilize that price. So for everybody that's here that's watching my growth and watching the founder of this company grow, I just want to tell you thank you. And I would love to make you guys a part of our story.
Geez, man, that is a generous discount that you've given to everybody. So definitely go over there. And I know everybody listening is the perfect fit for this, because you wouldn't be listening to this episode or this podcast in general if you didn't have a bigger vision for yourself and your business, your family, your community, and such. So take advantage of everything we kind of talked about today, going over to survivingthesidehustle.com/score machine and take advantage of that awesome offer. So man, thank you so much. And I know we were talking about down the road, so I want to leave you with one final question here. Let's think 5-10 years from now. What impact do you want the score machine to have on the small business industry?
Reliance tool, a tool that they know that every time that they go in, they're going to get the right information every single time. A tool that they know that they can truly rely on. And there's a lot of growth that's coming with this. There's a lot of things that's going to be with the score machine that nobody's touched base. I have full board on it right there with all the things that I want to do. It's going to be bigger than anybody ever could imagine, because the whole point is to help the entrepreneur. The whole point is to help the consumer get to their goals. I don't want anybody being broke inside of the score machine. I want them getting to the place where they're going to achieve what they want. And guys, look, truth be told, somebody may just want to go on vacation. Well, don't worry. We're going to help you get the best travel card so you can go on vacation. Forget about travel cards. Say you want to open up a travel business. Now that you travel so much, well, we can help you get the best cashback card that can get you your ads and everything for your business. So we're going to do everything that we can to help.
Wow, man. Started from just building things by your hand here, just from an idea of a problem that you saw, to now helping so many other people, the community here, but the entrepreneurial industry as a whole. So, dude, I appreciate everything you're doing. It's really inspiring stuff, and I'm excited to see it grow. It's growing at such a rapid pace, and I can't wait to see the next levels and the things that come from this. So I really appreciate you taking the time and coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to this.
All right, man. That's all we got today, guys. Go check that out and let me know what you think. Peace, 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 peace. That's all for today's episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. If you found value here, please don't forget to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening from. And please create a shared success by helping us share this episode with someone who you think would benefit from today's conversation. And finally, don't forget to connect with us at survivingthesidehustle.com and give us a follow on socials so that we can take part in following along in your entrepreneurial journey. Until next time, remember, success doesn't require a complete sacrifice, just strategy, momentum, and the right support.